Well, hello internet. Welcome to Art's Art. My name is Art. Let's do some art today, shall we? I'm going to make Thor versus Raijin. The mythological Thor, mind you, not the Marvel's, not that Thor, not the sexy Thor. And Raijin, if you didn't know, is the Japanese God of Thunder. So we're doing a God of Thunder versus God of Thunder thing today. So I'm just gonna get a couple of basic forms built so I can do some posing and do some sketching of what the composition is going to be. Okay, that's one. Nothing too fancy here, just I think I'm gonna make this one Raijin, and I'll make Thor a little bit smaller. We're so used to seeing Thor being the biggest, toughest guy in the room. I think it would be interesting to see Thor face a more intimidating God of Thunder than himself. Okay, so now that we have these, we can start thinking about how to make a bit of a scene out of them. I guess we should try to find a way to differentiate the two somehow. Obviously, Thor is going to be carrying a hammer, his ever so famous hammer, Mjolnir. Is that how you pronounce that? Mjolnir? Can I tell you a secret? Whenever I hear the word Mjolnir, in my mind, it sounds like meow meow. This is a really big hammer. It's like wang, thong. Oh no. And then Raijin. He's got these flowy scarf above him and drums floating around him. They're what he bangs on to create thunder. So I'm gonna give him that. Alright, so now I've got a Thor and I've got a Raijin. Kind of. So this is the part where I haven't really thought through what this sculpture is gonna be like. Like, I just knew that I liked the idea of two gods of thunder, but I don't know, I don't really have any idea what they're gonna be doing. Let's just move them around. I might be thinking too much about this. This is him post-swing. I'm already not liking this. No, he needs to be rearing back or something. Not feeling this, but that's okay. We're just experimenting, we're just trying out new things. Just moving it around, see if we feel any. Yeah, what if it's like this? Because Raijin is like known for playing drums, right? The rings around him are supposed to be drums for thunder, so what if he's like smashing into Thor like he's playing drums? And I like the elevation difference. It opens up the composition, right? If I have two people facing dead on, like, you'd lose them when you view one from the back. But if there's an elevation difference, then you can kind of see both. Maybe Thor's on a quest, like traveling the world to challenge all the other gods of thunders. Is nice. I feel like I can work with this. Okay, I think we got a sculpture. Alright, so the first thing I gotta do is clean up the anatomy because it's all broken up after posing it. So we gotta clean that up first before I can start mocking in some costumes and clothing and hair. I think Raijin is actually going to be pretty straightforward. I want to keep him pretty close to the canonical Raijin, if you will. Like some poofy pants, maybe some shin guards and some thigh guards just to jazz him up a little bit. But otherwise, he's going to go with that like bare-chested look pretty much. Thor, on the other hand, I think is going to be a little bit more difficult because to the best of my knowledge, he doesn't have like a canonical clothing or armor or something like that. Like he has a belt of strength and gauntlets, but other than that, it's like muscular bearded guy, right? So I don't really know exactly what to do. So I'm just gonna try something here and start him off with like some leather armor because metal armor just feels like a bit much. So let's try some leather and see how we feel about that. Yeah, so this version is kind of like D&D-ish with like sort of embossed leather. I'm not in love with it, but you know, we gotta put something down, right? As for their faces, I don't know. Again, I think Thor is gonna be more difficult than Raijin. This is not gonna be the final version, but I'm just gonna mock up something here. I know that I want Thor to have a beard, and I don't know if I want him to have like loose flowing hair. So let me just give a Geralt of Rivia half ponytail thing a try and see how that feels. For Raijin, he's gonna actually look a little bit like Akuma from Street Fighter, which I believe that face is modeled after Japanese deities to begin with. So, you know, like we're kind of full circle here. Don't love it. That armor's gotta go. At least that upper body armor has gotta go. It doesn't work for me at all. I also have a problem with Raijin. He looks like he's dropping down from the sky. It doesn't have a particular sense of... If that's what I was going with, they need to be more stacked, which I suppose we can do. That's actually better. Huh. I'm kind of okay with that. Come on. Yeah. Now his pose is not aggressive enough because he's too defensive right now. I want him to be with the sound effects. This guy needs to be even taller. Come on. Why does this keep happening to me? Why do my sculptures all end up ridiculously tall? Come on! Oh, I like that. I think, okay, all right, we're getting there. I'm a little nervous about the base, because I don't know what to do with it. Clouds, stylized cloudy swirls, might be interesting. Okay, seriously though, we really gotta get this Thor costume thing figured out. But unfortunately, I don't really have an exact idea of what I'm trying to do. I'm just gonna have to cycle through a bunch of different versions and I guess see what strikes my fancy. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Maybe we can do some kind of an homage to Marvel comic book Thor. That might be kind of fun, or it might make more sense if we do a version where Thor's wearing something closer to traveling clothes, if we're gonna really run with that idea that he's traveling the world to go challenge other gods of thunders. Or, I don't know, maybe he's wearing armor. I'm kind of stumped with this one. I don't really know what to do. It's a new day, and I have some issues with this piece. It doesn't feel like Thor. He's big and strong, and he knows it. He is like nigh invulnerable as far as I could tell. So it feels weird for him to even be wearing this much armor. As much as I don't want two shirtless, beefy men trying to fight each other, like it makes more sense for him to just be completely shirtless. If he's traveling the world challenging other gods, like imagine he's like strutting up, right, to like the mountains where Raijin lives. He's like, I challenge you, Raijin of Japan. And he's gonna be like Hollywood Hogan, rah! Like rip off his shirts, like, check out these muscles. I'm here to take you on. Yeah, so that's how I'm gonna justify him being shirtless. Jeez, what a waste of time. At least I didn't spend too long on each of those armor designs. Maybe I'm just bad at designing armor. Like I'm really disappointed that I'm not able to find an armor design that works for this. Maybe you guys will see this video and you'll say, but the armor was cool, you should have kept it. And then, you know, what are you gonna do, right? Like I have decided to not go with armor. Feels like I'm having kind of an off day. I don't really know why. I wanna at least try to get Thor's head done today, because that's really the major missing piece here. Just like the armor, I'm not exactly sure what I'm gonna do, so I'm gonna try a bunch of different versions of hair and beard and, you know, kind of figure out where I want to land. I do know that I want to have some braids included. Braids seems to be a thing with Norse hair and beard, and also I'm certain at this point that I want him to have somewhat loose and flowy hair. I didn't like that half ponytail at all. That's just par for the course, right? Like you try something, it didn't work, now you know what not to do, you know? Alright, so now that we've got the face figured out, it's time to get in there and actually do some real sculpting, right? This is where I really gotta hunker down and just slowly refine the forms into shape. In terms of the actual process, all it is just adding a tiny little piece of clay, refining it down, adding another tiny piece of clay, refining it down, and add and remove and add and remove and add and remove, and that's basically it. And you just gotta do this basically until it looks right. I think the challenge for this one is gonna be getting the anatomy really right. You got like two shirtless guys, you know, taking a whack at each other. If I don't have the musculature right, I feel like this is really gonna detract from the impact. Speaking of impact, another thing that I do all the time actually is continually make small adjustments to the pose and the composition. And you probably noticed this by now, that the character's poses changes slightly over time. And that's just what I do. I try to get as much impact out of whatever idea I have as much as possible. Not to say that I always succeed, of course. It's just something I try to do. Okay, we're just about ready to start doing Raijin's hair. Thankfully, I'm not gonna have to redo the head, I don't think, because, well, for whatever reason, the mock-up that I did seems like it's holding up just fine. I don't usually do this. I usually sculpt a character's head out of hard clay. This one was done using medium clay because it was just a quick mock-up, but hey, if it works, right? To those of you who are curious about the technical side of things, I usually use hard clay on fine details like faces and tiny little accessories and whatnot, like stuff that has to kind of hold its shape and can be handled. And that to me is like the two biggest difference makers that hard clay gives me, is that it gives me more control over the detail, and it also can withstand some amount of handling, where medium clay doesn't really do quite as well in that regard. But medium clay works so fast. As much as I like hard clay, it tends to be a lot slower to work with, so I really only use it on areas in which I have to have as much control as I possibly can. Once I get the anatomy right, or at least headed in the right direction, it's also time where I start sculpting the little accessories and whatnot. And these are actually, for me anyway, a lot easier than it looks, because it's almost like a little craft project. It looks more impressive than it is. You just gotta think through a little bit what you're trying to do. Personally, I think anatomy and form and movement is a lot harder than making like little belts and pouches. And maybe it's different for different people, but that's how it is for me. If you are a sculptor yourself, why don't you let me know what you find difficult? Like, what aspect of sculpting do you find that you have the hardest time wrapping your head around? So yeah, actually, if you're any other kind of artist for that matter, if you're an illustrator or a painter or whatever, let me know what you find the most difficult about what you do. I'd be very interested to know, and I think maybe we could learn a thing or two about what each one of us find easy or difficult. So yeah. So we are almost done. We've just got the ring of drums and the bass left to do. Now, I could do this the old-fashioned way where, you know, I've got this ring here, I can put a bunch of drums on it, but I don't really want to do that because then I'd have to sculpt like 8 of them. I'm gonna actually try to make a drum out of Super Sculpey and make copies of that using a silicone mold, maybe. Now, I don't know exactly how I'm gonna do this yet, but the point is, I don't want to sculpt 8 drums, and I'm trying to lazy man my way out of this. And hopefully this is actually gonna build my skill set for the future as well, because I have another idea for a different sculpture that is going to require a lot of small copies of something. So let's give it a try and see how this turns out. Okay, it's out of the oven. So just a little sculpey drum, nothing too crazy. But it means that I can now actually mold this thing. So I'm just using a 2-part putty mold that is used for, I guess, all kinds of things, although I've never heard of anyone actually casting clay in one of these. So I'm just making a mold of the Super Sculpey drum. Then once I take it out, then I can pour a liquefied clay into it, the kind of clay that I'm using. Once it gets hot enough, it basically turns liquid, like it turns into like a viscous liquid that I can pour into this fancy schmancy mold. And once it comes out, hopefully I'll be able to attach them to the big ring. Yeah, so I think this is it, and it is time to install these rings. Beep, boop. And here we go. Yeah. Okay. We're just about ready to actually start doing the base proper. So these aluminum foil thingies are gonna get turned into like kind of like stylized cloud swirls. I don't know how much of this I'm actually gonna show. It's just like cloud swirls. It's not super interesting, I don't think. So assuming that nothing goes wrong, I'm just gonna time lapse this and edit, and I will see you after the big epic final reveal. It looks like poop. And I don't mean that in a metaphorical sense. Oh, it looks so bad, it looks like doo-doo. No, it literally looks like a highly stylized pile of dung. So, yeah, I'm not sure what to do about this because I didn't have a backup plan. It just doesn't, it doesn't look any good. I feel like I might have just ruined my sculpture. And the problem is that I don't know what to do to fix it. You know, I can just do away with this idea altogether. I don't know. I feel like I have to live with this now. I've spent too many days on this already. I need to move on to other ideas. So I'm gonna take this swirl of mist idea to its logical conclusion, come what may, and I guess just live with it. Oh, this is kind of a disaster. Damn it. This sucks. I'm strongly considering taking all of this off and just totally simplify it. I really don't want to give up on it. But I don't know what to do. I don't know how to make this work. This is very discouraging. I have to say, this is very discouraging. Okay, give me a minute, or 2, or 10, or 60. We'll come back and figure this out. There's a way out of this. There has to be a way out of this. I'm doing this. I'm taking the base apart. My biggest problem is that it's distracting. I cannot let that go. So, whoa, hey, all right. Wow, nothing keeps you humble. Quite like a total fail like this, huh? Is it clear yet? Is it clear yet that I have no clue what I'm doing? Woodworkers, don't yell at me in the comments. I know this is not how you would do it. Now what? While that's drying, I can work on Thor, his base in particular. I'm going to put him on some rocks and pretend that he's standing on maybe like a cliff edge or something like that. This video is probably already getting too long again, so I think I'm just going to let this fade away into time lapse. Assuming nothing else goes wrong. If something else goes wrong, then then I'll see you back here to solve the problem. But for now, I think we'll just assume that I'm gonna run this into time lapse and see you after the epic final reveal. Okay, well, here we are, the finished sculpture. Quite a lot of fails with this one. The base obviously was a pretty big fail. There's like a bunch of little design fails with the armor and the whatnot, but what are you gonna do, right? Live and learn. I certainly felt like I learned a lot doing this one. That's been it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.